I think you guys should have understood from how much Star Wars content we upload that we are big Star Wars guys.
Mm.
So we had to watch Tales
It's
because we love Star Wars. Yeah. And
I mean, I love May the 4th. May the 4th be with May the 4th be with you, Faye.
may the 20th be with you, brother. um, but unlike Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Underworld was, I think, really good.
I agree with both of those statements. I think Tales of the Empire was straight dookie, and I think Tales of the Underworld was straight fire.
Yeah, and like I'm mentioning that because you told me before that you hated Tales of the Empire, so I'm just
I think it's so bad.
I'm basically
I
parroting
really
what
like
you said, but I would probably agree with you. Yeah.
I really like the Tales series because they sort of are. To me, they're just sort of like filler episodes, really, because they're all just like backgrounds on characters that we see in the Clone Wars. So it's like a Clone Wars episode that's filler, and they just give us like background information. Tales of the Jedi, I think, is still probably the best.
Yeah.
Because it gives us Dooku and his fall from, being a Jedi into the Sith and him versus Yaddle and everything. And that arc is just so good. And then we get to see Ahsoka learning to prepare for Order 66 and becoming a trained warrior with Anakin and how she like learned to survive through all of that. And it's super cool seeing her like mimic the moves she used against the 501st in her training against Rex and the boys in that episodes. And then last May the 4th, we had Tales of the Empire, which I was super excited for because we finally got to hear something about Barriss Offee and how she was going to be an Inquisitor. But I wasn't excited for the second half because there's always like two like arcs. Like the Tales of the Jedi is Dooku, then Ahsoka. Tales of the Empire is Barriss, and then Morgan Elsbeth. They made a whole 3 episodes on Morgan Elsbeth and her character, and I could not be less interested. So I was only interested in half of the 6 episodes, so already I wasn't very thrilled. I will say my favorite episode of that batch was her origin story, just because we got to see Grievous mow down Night Sisters, and he just was so cool doing it. Definitely the best part of that entire series was just seeing Grievous. But her arc was so nothing, and her character is so lame, nobody cared. And then we got to see Barriss, and then her whole arc was just completely trashed. Nobody liked it. I feel like they wasted sort of a lot of potential they had with Barriss because they had so much good storytelling potential that they set up from Clone Wars with her being a fallen apprentice and then being caught and framing Ahsoka and then being caught by Anakin and her sort of parallels to Ahsoka and how that sort of worked out. And then she just ended up being like a force healer in the mountains. It was weird. But this new Tales series focuses on Asajj after she it actually confirms canon of the Dark Disciple book, which I've not yet read, but it's super cool to see that it like picks up straight after that. And how she is focusing on this young Jedi who survived Order 66 and bringing him to the path, which is mentioned and first brought up in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and how Quinlan Voss started that, and that's her like one true love, but she gave everything up to come back to the land of the living, so she couldn't, she can't go see him. And we get to see one of my favorite parts of her arc is getting to see how she mediates a discussion between this old separatist leader and these natives over a water dispute. It's super cool seeing how much her character has changed and how mature she has become in this series. And then the next 3 episodes, which were definitely my favorite arc, it was the Cad Bane And Cad Bane is my favorite bounty hunter. He's super cool. Clone Wars did him so much justice in his character arc and everything, and they had so much to work with. And I feel like they just made him an even better character because now we know like his origin story, how he like idolized. He was sort of like in mob ties and everything, crime gangs, and then he idolized one man with a cowboy hat who ended up dying, and then he tried to avenge him, ended up in jail, and then had he loved the girl, and then while he was in jail she had his child, which he didn't know about, and then learns after killing his best friend that he has a son, and he ends up abandoning him because he was just a bad influence. And his story is really well done in that arc.
I mean, Cad Bane is a really cool character, but I personally have never been like he's never been my favorite. I'll say that. So I enjoyed Asajj Ventress's episodes a lot more than Cad Bane because I think it was really cool seeing his backstory like that. Like I said, I have more vested interest in Asajj Ventress because I feel like she's more of a character than Cad Bane. Or do you disagree with that?
I agree with that. She definitely has more screen time in Clone Wars, more character depth, more like appeal, I would say, because she's a force wielder and has, she's like a fallen Sith turned to Jedi kind of thing.
I also like the
She definitely has
relationship
more character depth
she had with the little boy. Interesting.
Yeah. And I love seeing her, spark ties with her old bounty hunting crew and everything. Or not bounty hunting crew, but just her bounty hunting friends. That was sort of like a cool nod. And that one droid companion that she has is so cool. I love the sound design on him and everything. He's just so well designed, in my opinion. Overall, I'd give this series a solid, I think like a 8 out of 10, just because it's like, there's not much to it. I just wish there was more, but obviously it's not like about that. In terms of quality, it's like a 10 out of 10 for me, but I'd overall give it an 8 out of 10 just because it's like not a full show. But I do think it is a must watch. I feel like it's, perfect. I don't see any discrepancies with the storytelling, the pacing. Everything is short to the point. I just wanted more. I wish there was more to it.
I will say 7 or 8. I'll agree. It's a must-watch for Star Wars fans. I don't think you would enjoy it as much if you were not a Star Wars fan. I think.
I see. Yeah. Well, I think there's something to be desired from people who aren't Star Wars fans, but also if you're not as big as like a Star Wars fan and you're just watching this with no Star Wars context, I feel like the Cad Bane storyline is so well thought out that you don't need to have any prior knowledge.
Yeah.
But with the Asajj Ventress arc, I definitely agree you would need to have some knowledge of her character at least. But I'd still go with the 8 out of 10.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, and
let us know what you think, and please go watch this.
Yeah.
Ring the bell.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.